What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. Boy, has Dawn of Majesty been a wild ride to watch. I added everybody in the Discord, as I commonly do, nice ping, in order to get picks for Market Watch for my own evaluation, and we watched live as Aluber, the Jester of Despia, went down and down in quantities and up in price. So a week 1 buyout here on Aluber, and I do not think this is the best one. I think Despia is probably rogue tier 2 at best. I love the mechanics, by the way, and I have underestimated decks before, but here's the realistic life cycle when it comes to a core set. Not everything in a core set has to be money or estimated value pulled, and you're gonna see a lot of Dawn of Majesty opened over the next couple of months. Even with a lower demand for it, it's still gonna be tournament pricing. It's still going to be used for remote duels, that sort of thing. And as you do have Burst of Destiny giving an update so people will reach back, the people spending $60 right now, either in panic or trying to make this disappear, along with all those people spending $50, $55, I just do not think that's a great buy. So congrats to everybody who did get deck cores on Yu-Gi-Oh! Daily using code What'sGood5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly. You're winning pretty big, as the Ultras were also targeted for earlier buyouts. And you do see this has just continued to go up from 7 last we looked to a market price of 10. And now we also have this up from 5 towards 6 to 7. There's a whole lot to unpack in this set. Iris Sword Soul's about where I called her to be at, 24 to 25 I thought would be the week 1 bottom out. Waifu with some backing, although it's still questionable where she ends up in the metagame, and Stardust Dragon floating near 700 but under. I've been seeing this actually sell in Facebook groups for around 600 from top rated sellers, and you do see that there, but the early copies getting snap called to end up that low with 669, nice 660, 670. That's about where Starlight Stardust is for now. Black Rose hasn't been reached back at either, confusingly to me, because whenever you support those kinds of lines, I would think that people go, okay, Black Rose, this might be a great time to get it, but it does seem Stardust just has more of that initial demand with the set hitting, and then Black Rose, not as many people panicking for it. I feel like a lot of people probably that already wanted Black Rose have Black Rose, and that does make a bit of sense. Ready Fusion towards 25. You're not in a world of hurt like the OCG where you activate this and you fear max C raining down on you, but still Halka Fibrax isn't the powerhouse it once was, still a crazy enabler, and I do think we'll see more Hulk plays moving into future metas, so I would look at Ready Fusion, but also its potential is limited where, unlike Instant Fusion, this is always a 1-for-1 rather than a potential +1 for you most of the time. Stardust Synchron, the good old derpy eye mascot, I do like how he looks, is around $20, bouncing back up from the initial sales, which is funny because Synchro Overtake, the card more likely to have some kind of meta impact, is down under $15. Casual doesn't mean broke. A lot of people were looking forward to Stardust Synchron. I pointed that out, especially when pre-sales were around $12, and I still like the look of this card, and here it is at 20. And Majestic Star up like $1 from where it was at, and Bead Trooper Scout Buggy was down towards 13, 12, sticking at 15 for the Secret and the Ultra. Why is that worth more? We've been over this a couple times, but the sneak peek promos are harder and harder and harder to get, and fewer and further between. So it's up in price. People want the Ultra Rare over the Secret. What a world we live in. The rest of the set, very affordable. I've seen amazing sales rates on Stellar Wind Wafrayet, and it's also the top seller, I believe, over on Card Market. That is definitely a card I would watch, but it also reminds me of Croco Dragon, where even though it did double in price eventually, it took forever, and being used as a purpose in life to make calamities. So maybe the Ultra Rare here that's generically good does get stuck at a low price. I just feel like it has a ton of potential, but that's where player brain can interfere with market brain sometimes, and it's that kind of card I would use to kind of stock up on as a vendor that might not pan out. Also, the B Troopers and other Ultras doing better for themselves. Usually would see a lot of $1 to $2 at this range, but like I said, this is an under open set, and the Ultras are what I would pay attention to, as Ultras are harder to get than ever, with 14 different Ultras in a set, making the pull rates harder naturally on them ever since Eternity Code, I believe. And with that, stuff like the Magic Key that are more casual but also have updated support coming are initially more expensive and lower quantities on the market than you might like to see. Going into King's Court, why are you looking at King's Court, John? Is it because you have some? Actually, yes, I brought it up on stream that all the cards were going down in price, and I figured that the sealed would continue going down in price as it had gone from 85 down to 82, so I was like, maybe a little buyer's remorse, but not too much. No, it seems like the disappointment of Dawn of Majesty sealed has people going for the only set that appreciated throughout the year, making even more singles on the market. So the singles prices keep going down where the sealed keep going up. And one of the number one questions in my streams has been, John, what do I do with my secret rare misprint Slifer? What do I do with my obelisk and raw? I'll be straight up. I'm invested in the set. The ultras are so freaking ugly, and that's why they continue to dip. Raw probably looks the best out of them, but has the ghost rare looming over it, as well as the GB1s, or GBIs. You have the obelisk as well, with so little foiling on it, and then Slifer's just okay. And the secret rares, again, the same thing. The ghost rare looms over the secret rare misprint. Thus, Slifer becomes one of the more unique top rarities of its kind and most looked at. And with that, there's a ton of them, but they're only for the most part out of North American print. Very few in Euro print. So if you're buying sealed, I would try to make sure you're getting American print for that little hype factor, especially if you're doing sealed cases, that sort of thing. But I do feel like with these, there's a lot of ways they could go. They could continue to go down. The ghost rare in the future could either create a past demand as you update the collection. We had an interesting conversation in Discord about how, oh, if it was Alter Art Ghost Stardust, that would be terrible because it would hurt. No, it would help the line a lot. The more Stardust you make, it wouldn't cheapen the Starlight Stardust. It would accentuate it and also make it feel cooler to expand the line, in my opinion. But it does also feel to players when you get a lot of one thing at once. People start to complain, again Stardust, again Heroes, again Dark Magician, again. People do get that type of way, but the people who are truly spending their money and collecting usually appreciate updates to the line, and these over time, I feel like we'll appreciate, but they could go either way depending. The ghost rares could overshadow them for a while and then they go up, or they could stagnate. We'll have to wait and see how many truly appear of these secret rare misprints. But yeah, the sealed is up despite every single being down, and Utopia just continues to defy every expectation I would have as marketmen, continuing to get cheaper and cheaper for purchase as people bail on them despite all the Utopia support in the future. That's why, marketman, not always right, it seems. We'll actually see when the Utopia support hits what happens to the top version you don't need a written translation for in tournaments with. Instant Fusion, speaking of Ready Fusion, got a buyout on the Ultimate Rare and the DT once again. Let me know if this is actively being played in the metagame or alongside it in the decks that are choosing Ready Fusion, which would make a little bit of sense. But yeah, 190 for the Ultimate Rare, which is actually quote-unquote under market price, but still insane. And the DTs gone. Rise of the Duelist, we all know that I can preach all day about it being in the Megatons, but Triple Tactics Talent continues to go up in price, and now the Starlight has been bought out to an extent. So be aware the top end of this gets even crazier. Well, Droplet has a confirmed reprint. We don't know about talents. You really think they're going to miss talents between Brothers of Legend, between Gold Series, between the Megatons? It's just gonna skip all three magically? Good luck with that, Theorio. But yeah, literally just because of the reprints announced and we have the Ultimate Rare on our doorsteps, that's why Talents is going crazier than it at this point. Legendary Duelist Magical Hero has been no fun to look at if you're a Dark Magician player, but when we brought it up on stream, Liquid's gone even past 55, 60 to freaking 70. I get that there's different hero builds with the Destiny heroes and a lot of different ways to play them, and people are excited for it upcoming, but $70 freaking dollars is blowing my mind. When we pulled up other heroes that we'd already talked about, like Bane and Golden, how they're even higher than before, and it's getting ridiculous unless you're shopping for the foreign versions you need a written translation for. Yeah, people will spend $70 more for an English copy. Curse Necrofear is way up in price at $45. The foreign copies end up being way cheaper, but oh my gosh, I did not know this was a $45, $46 card or when that happened. So you might have some money you didn't know about. If you're a Bakura collector, you happen to pack this while trying to chase for gold and malicious, it is one of the other short prints out of the set, if I'm not mistaken. But you all are after the wrong waifu. My boy Nim Nim was right when he said, boy, I'm gonna make a playmat out of her. That's the real one you should be after, Smile. Doppel Warrior super rares have been bought out, partly for past format, maybe for future Synchro hype. There's also, you know, commons, rares, but this is the only holographic. It's out of 5D's collection, and 5D's collection keeps getting buyout after buyout, it feels like, when we're talking on the market. Here's another one for the Synchro era. Speaking of Synchros and secret rares, Greed Grotto never got a reprint, and this card, the reads, and if I'm not mistaken, you can activate multiple on its condition. Activate only if you destroyed one of your opponent's face-up Synchro monsters by battle or card effect this turn. Draw 2 cards. The problem is, you have to ensure your opponent's playing Synchros, and even if Synchros get far more popular, you still need something that's going to end up, you know, turning off their effects like Dark Ruler no more, comboing it in, and then using this as a greedy extender. But this is a card that has a buyout history. Its recent market price was $5. You can see people bought it out even through the light plays and others at up to $15, but I just wouldn't suggest buying this one unless you're like, man, I was trying to finish my complete collection of all the sets, and now my Ancient Prophecy is ruined because I didn't get this card. I feel sorry for you. Black Rose Moonlight Dragon is running out of a lot of copies. We did recently get a printing in Legendary Duelist Season 2, and this is funny just to point out how bad this gimmick fails. All of the color blue, purple, green ultra rares, they're way cheaper and in stock compared to the ultra rare normal copy printed in LED Season 2. Konami, please take note of this and maybe actually make red one of the colors instead of being scared that people will confuse that for 20th anniversary rare when you're probably doing it next year. Come on. But we also have the super rare, which is a nice look, and then the original manga promo, which has been 12 to 16 to even 20 before while we were thirsty for reprints. And if you're collecting magazine promos and stuff, you might want to get the original sooner than later if the others are bubbling up in price and lower on quantity, which they are. That is definitely something to pay attention to. Speaking of weird Synchro buyouts, this was $15 the other day when we talked about Time Lords, and now for some reason he's $25, $30 with actual sales through that range, and I don't know why people are suddenly scrambling for this other than Market Man brought up Time Lords, gotta get Time. No, I don't think that was it, but this is one of those weird ones that double yepped in price. Crimson Blader is something we brought up for Zhang Zhang, along with Draco Berserker of Tenyi and others that people have been getting. And the super rares are now completely gone from the market with only one lister here. Even the rares are going now. People scrambling and getting pieces for future formats. I think this is niche in use. It's pretty cool that they get to use that, but it is still niche in a sense, but people want access to their cards. And finally, is this bought out for a bad joke? Has the Yu-Gi-Oh community gone too far? No, actually, the secret rares haven't even been moving the entire month of August with not a single sale there. But the supers and ultras are moving pretty darn fast all of a sudden. And all fingers point towards what looks like a giant weird hand kaiju thing, King of the Sky Prison and Burst of Destiny. This is getting super hyped for anti-meta cards, and it's type and attribute fit in perfectly with things like Eradicator, so you might want to look those up if you do plan to play this. And I've actually seen some of those played more through rated as people experiment, but that's where the actual sales rates for the supers and ultras are going, with nobody going towards the very top end of the secret rares right now. That being said, what do you guys think of Dawn of Majesty, the weird twists and turns? All the singles going down in price, but the sealed defying gravity and going up because of how much is getting open for King's Court? Maybe because it's the only positive correlation of a set open this entire freaking year for most people, unless you got extremely lucky with a product. That kind of makes sense, and is pretty sad because I may be in King's Court, but it still was a middle-of-the-road set for me when it comes to a side set. And finally, just other things jumping and moving around as they usually do. I look forward to how Dawn of Majesty turns out, and whether you agree with me or disagree that Aluber seemed to be a pretty bad buyout, as you Already see another copy listed. I think it was definitely an uphill battle for somebody to try to start that one early, and I do not think it was a good one with how this was pushed back and how they're going to have to try to play that field even more. But we'll see how the hype does get perceived when the rest of the Despias get there. And shoutouts to DB Grinder. I've been watching some of the matches of this versus Flenderies and stuff like that on his channel. You might want to actually check out some gameplay of that before you're committing your cold hard cash, as well as test it out yourself completely for free on Dueling Book. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversation, and we'll see you in the next video.